Well, hello, everybody. Wow, I didn't realize how bad this green screen was. Well, anyways, let me see if I can fix this. So how's everybody doing? My name is Charlie with 4BZ Truth, and just wanted to get on here and contemplate the cosmos for a little bit. And I appreciate anybody that's, hanging out, coming by, and I'm having some issues with this, but we'll just deal with it as is. So part of the reason I decided to venture down this road of, contemplating the cosmos is I've been kind of absent, you might say, trying to deal with life. And it's been a lot easier to, just do my life thing, because we just had a baby, which I mentioned a little while back, but he's almost he's 6 weeks old now, and he is doing great. His name is Max, and he's just awesome. So anyways, I just thought I'd, here, let me try to figure this freaking thing out real quick. Because it's bugging me a little bit, and I can't get my and let me know in the comments if anybody is there or if they can hear me. Let's see, give me a second. I have some talking points that I'm going to get into in just a few, and let's see. Wow, I don't know why my mouse isn't working. Usually I'm able to scroll this. Actually, that's a good idea. Bam. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Let's see if this, nope. Get rid of this for a second. Get rid of this. I don't know. So should have been a little more prepared. I was cramming to get in here today. So I actually, you know what it is? It's the lighting. Here, let me turn the light on in the background real quick. Just a second. Yeah, I have some light going on in the back, or the. Gosh, it's not working very well. Oh, nope, it's not going to work. Or maybe if I come down right here. Try this. Yeah, that might be a little better, but the green screen's coming up. Here, let me see if I can. Let's see, theme, no. I don't know. I guess at this point it doesn't matter. So forgive me for the green screen malfunction here, but I guess I have some issues with, here, let me try it this way. Here's a settings button here. Oh, here we go. This is actually what I was talking about. Just a second. Let's see. Virtual background. Oh. Yeah, let's go here. Bear with me, guys. I'm just about there here. Here, I'll change it to this one because I like this one. And we're good. Okay. That's a little better. All right. Well, that gave a little bit of time for people to come in and me to get situated. So, anyways, life has been a little crazy for me. I've just been dealing with life, business, new baby, My wife is postpartum, so she needs my help with things. It's just been a little tougher with the way things have been in my life. So just haven't been putting YouTube on the priorities list. But I did get together with some friends a little while back, within the last week actually, and just unpacked a lot of things that I thought were pretty interesting and thought provoking. And really, that's kind of what I want to accomplish with friends in my life is, bouncing ideas off of each other and, challenging each other in our thought process. And there's been a few things that really triggered me in wanting to get on here today, because I'm frustrated in a lot of ways. I actually feel like there's so many things that are happening, well, not just in the world, but in my life, because I actually feel like I've really disconnected from a lot of things, and I actually feel a little bit guilty about it because I've been concerned about the state of the world and my contribution to that. And even if I'm just getting on YouTube and doing things, it may not seem like a lot to me, but I feel like if I can make an impact in someone's life, it's better to be able to do that. Now, lately, I've been impacting my kids' life more because they've been adjusting to a third baby in our lives, and we've all been experiencing that and making the adjustments. But anyways, I'm sure the algorithm of YouTube does not favor me. I actually did a search for 4BZ Truth on a YouTube search, and they're already starting to target me on the search results because it basically, I think it said a couple of my videos up top, which is interesting that I'm still hitting the top, but then it goes on down the list of, just talking about conspiracy theories, and I think that they're really just targeting my channel in that way, because they're trying to poo-poo the content that I'm trying to address here, and so I have kind of flown off the radar, just a little bit of focus on my personal life, but I didn't want to really rock the boat anymore, and I don't want to lose a bunch of the videos and content because I was sitting on 2 strikes for a while, and I didn't want to worry about losing my channel. So I just laid low for a while. And, I'm not eligible for monetization because of all the stuff that I've posted, and I haven't pulled it down yet. And I reshare some stuff, like mirror it. And obviously the YouTube guidelines doesn't like that either. But at one point in time, I actually wanted to do this as a full-time, service to the community. But I don't know. But I'm finding that a lot of the things that I've been thinking about, I haven't really talked about. I have not been talking to people about it as much as I would like to, and it's kind of making me feel like I'm just welling up inside. I'm getting ready to explode. That's why I wanted to have that explosion in the background. In fact, I almost want to do that. I'm going to change it back to the explosion because that is relevant to the situation here. And of course, it's not going to let me. I just realized that I can make it a little more crisp here. There you go. Let's get rid of this here. No. Let's get rid of this. There it is. Bam. Let's fix this. Sorry, I'm just worried about the green screen right now. I shouldn't worry too much about this. The heck, man? Oh, it's over. There we go. Okay. I gotta fix this again. All right. That's good enough. All right. So now that I've kind of gotten that situated, I'm exploding. I'm trying to get some stuff worked out in my mind. I'm hoping some people out there can help me, help me unravel some of the stuff and try to unpack a lot of the stuff that I've been, um, I'm sure you guys kind of know what I'm getting at, and uh, I'm looking for some people to bounce ideas off, and now there's a few talking points I wanted to get into. In fact, I wanted to talk to the everybody out there that is probably tired of hearing about the C Dizzle Rona, C Dizzle Rona. I actually came across some information I thought that was really highly interesting, and I feel, um, hey, Mama G, yeah, you did catch a live one. This is the first live one I've done in a while, actually. So that's the reason you're seeing me. And I'm glad that I was in your suggestions there, but I was talking a little bit about some talking points. This first one was if anybody watches the high wire with Dell Bigtree, talk about triggering the algorithm. I actually feel like that's one of the worst names to mention on YouTube. But I did watch one of their episodes. It wasn't this week, this Thursday, but it was the Thursday before that. They were interviewing some people where these ladies had lost their husbands to the R word treatment. That once you get put on a vent, they start giving you the REM stuff. And if anybody knows anything about it, they'll know what I'm talking about. But honestly, I don't really want to trigger the algorithm. But these two ladies that were being interviewed were straight up, like, one of them, I think, was a nurse practitioner, which is equivalent to a doctor. And she was basically trying to walk through with her husband, who was actually admitted in the hospital, to not do the protocols that they had in place for the hospitals, and that obviously they weren't going to let them use the alternative protocol for the dewormer, so to speak. And obviously I don't feel that way. I've never actually used that, but I used the hydroxotherapy. Anyways, I'm just grateful that I never made it to the hospital, because when I got COVID, it was pretty bad and I was sick. And a lot of people would say, oh, COVID doesn't exist, but I actually got sick. Whatever the case may have been there, I could have made it to the hospital and I could have gotten on their protocols. Although I did not actually get sick during the time that they were using remdizzle for the treatment, but I want to say that it was like a 50-50 survival rate on it or something. And now the point is, with these two ladies that were on that show, the High Wire, they were really pointing out that they were completely against the protocols, and that they just wanted to have, like, I forget if it was like steroids or like some sort of some other alternative treatments that the hospitals actually wouldn't do. One of them actually was almost better, and then this head doctor decided that she was going to put him on a vent and then give him the remdizzle. And it was really sad. It actually made me cry a little bit, because it made me so emotional at the thought of it. And the thing is, I know of two people that died the same way. where, well, okay, I don't really know all the ins and outs of what happened, but the way that these ladies made it sound is that they were given remdizzle, even though they opted out of it and they refused it or whatever, but they were given it by force, or they were, I don't know, they were secretively giving it to the people and not telling her what their wife. And, you know, so I know a lady that I'm involved with in our home group, and her husband died, and it was really sad. You know, he was up in age, but he actually was doing fairly normal until he got sick, and then he went to the hospital. They didn't want to put him on a vent, but they did. They didn't want to give him any other treatments, but I don't know what they did, but he died. And the thing that really sucks is because they were saying that he refused the treatments, that she was not able to get life insurance for his death. And I thought, wow, really? You know, you have these life insurance benefits in place so that you could have a backup plan. But like, say for instance, I die from C Rona. I actually, I have like over $500,000 in life insurance. And if I was not able to get that for my wife, that's pretty terrifying in a lot of ways. You know, the fact that they get away with the things that they do is just unfathomable. I can't even say it. It's I cannot fathom it. It's pretty horrifying. And I'm just thrown for a loop that, you know, one of the guys that I've followed for years on YouTube, and that's Rob Skiba. I've always respected his position on everything. And, you know, to see kind of what he had gone through as well, where he died. And I don't really know the treatments that he was given, but all I know is that on that show, The Highwire, it really proved that, you know, they will give you the remdizzle treatment regardless of whether you consent or not. Are all the hospitals doing that? I don't know. But it is something that it really threw me for a loop when I heard that. So anyways, but that's one of the points that I wanted to get to. And obviously, I kind of backed off because of the co-ron dizzle, because I don't really want to get in trouble on YouTube. And honestly, I was kind of persuaded to make a YouTube video the other day, and I actually did a recording, and I decided not to upload it because I was going to just talk about it on this live stream. But you know, Ammon Bundy, the guy that was fighting with the BLM down in Nevada, and then also in Oregon, he lives in Idaho, and he ran for governor here. And he actually, I swore that I knew like so many people that were supporters of Ammon Bundy. And when you go to look at the candidates of Idaho, so like you do a Google search, Idaho election, and it gives the governor candidates. Well, he ran under independent. And, you know, the first guy that you see on there was Brad Little, which is the governor of Idaho currently. And they say that he's been serving Idaho for the first 4 years or whatever of his term. And then everything just sounded respectable in their description of Brad Little. But when you get down to Ammon Bundy, you click on his name, his little Wikipedia page pops up, and it shows like his basically that he is a radical anti-government whatever. I mean, it's like a guy that's running for governor who's anti-government. I mean, you would think that they would give him a little more or a little less bias on that. And everything I've seen from him, he's not anti-government. He always holds the Constitution in his pocket. And it's like, why would you have the Constitution of the United States in your pocket if you're anti-government? But that's the point, that it really skewed the election for him. He got like 16% of the votes, and he just was blown out of the water. So I don't know. It was frustrating. It just reminiscent of that. Oh my gosh. There's like a ghost freaking turning my printer on. My printer just started going all of a sudden. Oh man. Oh, my wife's gonna come in here. Hold on. Just a second. My wife just printed something off a Kels. Anyways. So yeah, oh, I guess another one's coming. So anyways, is anybody there? Can you hear me okay? I haven't really had much no, people are too busy on a Saturday, I guess. Or I just haven't been on here enough to. I know how it is when you don't visit channels for a while, and they just kind of fall to the wayside. Oh, come on. Oh, come here. Come on. All right, my wife printed off some gift cards. Here, these are yours.
Thank you.
That kind of threw me off.
Sorry.
Anyways, all right, so moving along here. Ooh, that's weird. What is this? See that right there? It's like a. Whoa. What is that? Oh, I know what it is. Never mind. It's an orb. No, so I've thought a lot about near-death experiences, and it really triggered some stuff in me. Just to kind of give you an overview, I'm so distraught about near-death experiences nowadays. I've been feeling like there is so many anomalies. So there's a lot of consistencies, but there's also contradictions, and I'm very bothered that there's so many contradictions in near-death experiences. I feel like it's relevant to care about these kind of things because I actually feel like the implications are way too vast if we don't hone in on the truth. I feel like I have really shifted in my mindset about things, and almost to the point where I've backed off from my own mindset, because the more I think about it, the more I feel like I'm venturing down a road of no return. And it kind of leads me into a thought of, let's see. So thinking outside of the box. Actually, what I was going to say is the living a moral life and why it is supernatural, and then why it matters who established morality. Now, in a lot of ways, I can't really say that near-death experience substantiate the Christian God as much as it does a traditional God. And so a lot of people, kind of bring their belief system into a near-death experience. And oftentimes they'll come back and say, okay, I'm going to overlay my belief system over the interpretation of what I saw. And sometimes, they come back changing their perspective, but other times they'll just confirm their perspective. And, whether that be, I know somebody that confirmed their perspective as a Catholic. I know people that have confirmed their perspective as a Christian. And hi, Mom. Are you leaving? Okay,
yes.
Bye. So as far as, if you need to, for me, I need to know what perspective is true, I guess. And I don't really feel like I want to cling to the traditions anymore. There's a lot of traditions out there that infiltrate religion in general, but then there's a lot of things even in the Bible or things in and honestly, this mindset for me has been difficult because I actually feel like I don't even like myself when I go down this road. I don't like what I learned from it. So what's the point of venturing down in a path that just really puts me in a spot where I feel extremely uncomfortable, extremely distraught? It's almost like knowing the truth isn't really a benefit to me. But at the same time, it's like, that was something awakened in me the importance to understanding true understanding, and true belief. Anybody can believe anything they want, but does that make it true? No, it doesn't make anything. Nothing is true unless it's reality. And sometimes, people are subjective about how they look at reality. So it's like, I don't really think everything can be viewed that way. Not everything is just subjective. So that's where I was thinking about morality a lot. And so if I was to view things through the lens of, let's just say all the religions are just conjured up in someone's mind. And then they figured out how to, create a plan and just write it down. Now, obviously, there's different authors and corroboration that happens with that in the Bible or something. But I was thinking about how if everybody in my church wrote a letter, they might say this similar kind of thing because they're all part of the same, under the same umbrella. Now, if you were raised a certain way, so like nature versus nurture, if you actually look at reality through a lens of what you grew up learning, you're gonna basically you're gonna learn sorry, my brain is just thinking about how okay, so if you learn from your parents to be moral, that's one thing. But I've heard people say that there's morality that's instilled in us even in spite of our parents. Like hunters, when people hunt animals, it's a terrible feeling to kill an animal. That's the way I feel. But over time, you're going to get desensitized to it, and you'll even be excited, like, oh yeah, this is my trophy, my this is my pride and joy, in the sense that this is what I've been able to accomplish. So if people are desensitized to that, then is that, so who determines that it's moral to be okay with killing an animal? Well, I mean, the Bible says that we have dominion over animals and we have to survive. So we have to eat somehow. Now, a lot of people will hunt for the antlers or something or the trophy, and but I'm actually talking more about the people that kill for the meat, like to survive. Um, so, like, if you were to kill a person, it, your moral compass says that that's wrong. And why is that? Because we were trained to believe that, number one. And then number two, is there something in our nature that says that that's wrong? I think a lot of it has to do with fear. I'm afraid to kill somebody. And again, I have a point to this. People might think I'm a psycho. Been listening too much to Mr. Ballin. No, no, but the reality is, I feel that um, morality can be subjective, but the fact that a lot of these people kind of came up with a concept and set kind of a standard for morality, that kind of throws me for a loop. Like, why is it immoral to cheat on your wife? I guess it depends on who's asking, because it might actually be acceptable in certain circles, right? If you're a swinger or whatever. Some people might find that hot or whatever. It's like, are you kidding me? But so this topic of morality has really kind of made me start thinking. My wheels are spinning. I actually feel like I want to have an understanding of, because I compare, the anthropology side of it, like just the nature of humans, to the nature of nature. I was thinking about how there's people out there, or I'm sorry, there is the nature out there, I should say, is that we breathe the air, and there's things about, like, like Mike B, he talks about irreducible complexity, and that concept is really just talking about how evolution has a step-by-step process that basically things evolve to a certain point. And this is kind of where we're at now. We have evolved, and I'm saying this hypothetically. We have evolved into what we see now. But how, if you trace the steps back, do we have certain irreducible complexity? So, like, here, your eyeball is something like irreducible complexity. You have something that just kind of came from nothing, and now where's the steps in between to get to where we're at with vision? Now, I understand, like, sensations or things where maybe touch, maybe, and I'm trying to entertain this concept of evolution in that sense. uh have I talked to my wife about this, and where does she stand? I've talked to my wife about a lot of things, but my wife is not uh as passionate about these kind of discussions, so I don't really get into all the ins and outs with her. I do talk to her about a lot of the things that a lot of the roads I venture down, but she's not a big fan of talking about things that are scary, like end time stuff. Because I actually was talking a lot about that for a while, and she just doesn't like when my dad comes over and we just start talking about all this deep, scary stuff. She doesn't like when I talk about it in front of the kids, but at the same time, it's like I want to talk to my kids about things that are reality. and I want them to understand how to interpret things. Now, that's kind of what I was alluding to. Is all of this goes back to interpretation, and it's like a philosophy of interpretation, and we all kind of start from a foundation. And I look at my son, who was just born 6 weeks ago. I literally saw his eyes go from he doesn't focus on anything. He couldn't figure out what he was looking at. He was just kind of blah, like how newborns are. But now, just in the last 2 days, 3 days, whatever it's been, I literally see him looking into my eyes and smiling. I'm thinking, wait, there's something coming into life in this kid. He is literally developing so rapidly now that I can see all the changes. And like, he is just, I'm seeing the individuality about him. I don't really see him being anything out too much, developmentally, but I can see the leaps that are happening. And there's a lot of complexity that's just really interesting to me about nature. And by the way, Mama G, what are you referring to about when you say this? Because I actually feel like the discussions about like the subjectiveness of faith or the subjectiveness of truth or anything. I don't really feel like everything is subjective, but I feel like there is a lot that is subjective. So like a lot of people will, when I talk to a lot of Christians, they'll say, God blessed me today because I, made a lot of money at work or something, whatever it is. And I can say right now that I think there's something powerful about belief, maybe something creative about it. There's a creative nature to belief, because if you actually are truly passionate about something that you believe in, does it come to fruition? I don't think that that's always the case, but there is something about the creative nature that allows things to happen. And wow, I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, I'm around a lot of Mormons in this area, or LDS people, and which really throws me for a loop that Ammon Bundy didn't get more votes, because we have like a lot of Mormons per capita, and Ammon Bundy's an LDS guy. But beside the point, that's a rabbit trail. But I was thinking about how, a lot of these LDS people, believe in what they believe. And I love to hear the discussions of the two different interpretations. Like, I've heard debates. I've heard just, people that are advocating for their belief system. And a lot of it just comes back to believing what somebody says. And, the Bible also talks a lot about proving our position, I guess. Like, if you can't present a rational ideology, it's hard to sway people. But at the same time, it's like people believe. Yeah, hold on. Yes, subjectiveness and questioning and versus knowing. Yeah. My wife doesn't like this topic, to be honest with you, because she is in a spot in her life where she feels better with just not questioning everything. But for me, I feel like I'm doing my family an injustice in some ways, because I feel like I'm pursuing my passion to understand or unravel the mysteries. And but I don't want to lie. I don't want to be a liar. Why does it matter if I lie or not? Why does it matter if I lie? I feel like there's something to truth that is fundamentally like in our nature. Like, why does it matter if things are true versus not true? So like if you know that you're believing something false, there's nothing gratifying in that, in my opinion. I've never just outwardly, projected or even inwardly just felt like, oh, I am so happy to believe something that is not true. I've never felt that way. Nobody has, in my opinion. But people are delusional and they'll believe something whether they know it to be true or not. It's belief system. So I'm trying to hold this thought, but my brain is always racing and thoughts are fleeting, and it's just hard to kind of. So that's what, like, it's my brain exploding because I don't really know how to sustain, my thought process. So, anyways, so I'm alone. I actually had a couple guys that I went to Buffalo Wild Wings with the other night, and we got into some deep conversations. I think that there's a few people out there that I can get in deep with, and unfortunately, it's harder to have friends when you're not in the same belief system. So, but these two guys in particular, I actually feel like I could believe what I believe, they can believe what they believe, but we can hash things out without offense. And I feel like that is important. I feel like people need to hash things out without offense and really just challenge their beliefs. That's kind of what I was hoping to do with this channel, is to challenge belief. And in the process of me trying to figure these things out, I actually feel like I started feeling frustrated with my own approach, and I started challenging myself. And it's okay to challenge yourself, but the more I gotten deeper into it, the more I started feeling like I wasn't clinging to anything anymore. And in some ways, I felt like it was important to understand basically the bird's eye view. So you have a bird flying over or even a drone. Let's say you have a drone that, if it's sitting on the ground, it can't see anything except for whatever is directly beneath it. But if it hovers up really high, it goes way high. And then you can see like the streets, you can see trees, you can see houses, you can see people, and you just see a bigger picture. And superficially, well, you don't really have the security of being on your foundation or being flat on the ground. But I feel like when you are in a vulnerable position up high in the sky, you can see a lot more of the image. So I've been more vulnerable lately because I actually feel like I'm starting to see the bigger picture. But then it makes me think about God. God has that view of everything. He doesn't need to be above the earth or whatever, but I actually feel like that's kind of how God views everything, is the big picture. He knows the big picture, right? So, but I think that we are supposed to know more than just nothing. I think it's important that our brains were set up in a way to where we can start retaining things. And was it only for survival? I don't think that a developing society is only about survival, because you actually see people having relationships and love. Love just is not consistent with evolution to me, unless you're, just, I mean, self-preservation. A lot of people will sacrifice themselves for love, which is totally against evolution. So I'm like, man, there's just so much trying to understand, my racing, fleeting thoughts, and I have a lot of love for people, but here I'm going to confess real quick. See, repentance starts with confession. Now, I was thinking about that concept. Is like you have to acknowledge where there is a need to confess. And once you confess, acknowledgement is the first step on the road to repentance or change. Change is turning from the direction you're going. So, with the mindset that, say, let's just say, it's hypothetically someone believes that there's no God, or they believe that morality is subjective. To venture down a road where that is the predominant thought process, you start embracing things that are not true and right and noble, and it becomes narcissistic. It becomes just me. It's all about me. How can I get what I want in my life? But there's something even more fulfilling about serving people. Unless you have that mindset going into it, where all you want to do is serve people and love people, I think that is the utmost fulfilling type of, I think that's the most fulfilling thing. Granted, if you're a narcissist, you probably aren't fulfilled by serving others. So I don't really know about that. Anyways, so I like to believe that we are supposed to gravitate toward a correct way of looking at things. I think that is built into our nature. I think it is. I think it's important that we gravitate toward a true belief system. And I'm stating like the obvious right now, because everybody that's listening is probably like, "Ooh, whatever." Of course of course you're supposed to gravitate toward the truth. Yet I think people don't care about the truth sometimes. I think they care more about their traditional beliefs. So, and they care more about fear, or they care more about just fitting in, I guess. And that might be partially about relationship. If you want to fit in, you want to be part of a community or a culture. That's part of relationship, and that's instilled in us. I think that we gravitate toward relationship, but that could have been something to do with nurturing too. Say our mom, nuzzles us in our, just like rubs our face against the baby's cheek, and over time we just rock the baby, and just something naturally nurturing about, you just want to love and hold your baby, and in time the baby will do the same, I guess. I know a lot of what I'm saying is just so obvious, but I'm really trying to unpack this in a way where it makes sense about where the direction of my brain has gone. And I've been feeling like I just want to point out the things that are, worthy of clinging to, I guess. Um, okay, here, let me pull this up. I can't stay long, but I can say that my faith in the living God is more than just faith in what I've been taught. I've been in the Spirit. Yeah, so I believe I understand where you're coming from, because I actually have had that spiritual embrace, you might say. I've been feeling like that comfort from the Spirit, and the Comforter. That's the Holy Spirit, right? Comforter. He has given me a gift of the Holy Spirit to see what is inside the Bible. Yes, and I think that you do have to have that ability to unpack things through that lens. I've talked about this quite a bit on my channel, but Matthew 5-7 is the Sermon on the Mount, and the Sermon on the Mount basically is that lens that has really shaken my foundation. And that's what it's talking about. It's talking about foundations built on the rock or built on the sand. And I feel like my foundation is a viewing lens of how to be in this reality. So with the Beatitudes is saying is, blessed are those who project, or not even just project, but have a change in their heart, because it's really the heart is the substance of what we project. So a lot of times in the Bible, it talks about the Pharisees, how they were, the Pharisees were projecting, but they weren't projecting from the heart. They were projecting from their brain. And I feel like Jesus actually was here to discern the difference between, projecting from the heart versus from the brain. And Paul talks about it a lot too. But I started thinking about the whole aspect of morality and how the Bible actually has, really pointed out aspects of morality that seem to transcend reality. I don't think people can just come up with all these ideas on their own. I really don't. So Mama G, if you're concerned, which I know a lot of people would be, about, if I'm trying to approach this from kind of an empty canvas, a clean slate, to operate from a belief system might just skew the data. And so if I was to say, okay, I do believe Matthew 5-7 is the correct lens of interpretation, and building your house on the rock is building the solid foundation, where your house that is built is actually not going to fall apart. But in a lot of ways, I feel like that is what Jesus was pointing out, and that is that you must view through a certain lens in order to view reality correctly. So I do believe that you have to view reality through the correct lens. So I feel like a lot of the things that I've talked about have been kind of confusing, and for that I apologize, because I actually feel like I'm just projecting my confusion on people, and it's not my intention to confuse people. It's actually my intention to help people realize or discern, help people discern. And but sometimes discerning isn't I guess so. Talking about what you're saying about the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit kind of gives us certain abilities, you might say, so like to interpret the Bible correctly. I'm really trying to analyze that in greater depth, because I don't want to dismiss anybody in their trying to analyze things through that lens. That's why I bounce ideas off of other people that don't believe what I believe, because I don't know, there's just a lot to it. There's a lot to it. And science and math are things that we are analyzing reality. But I've heard people say that in science there is no philosophy, and yet you have to literally interpret everything through a lens of philosophy. So I don't know. I just I've kind of beat a dead horse with this, I think, because I'm not even. I kind of took a rabbit trail a little bit. So actually, no, I kind of addressed that point pretty good, I think. But at what point does that kind of stuff just become so convoluting? It convolutes and distorts. So when I start thinking about things, I almost feel like I'm viewing through the lens of distortion, and I can't really make out things that used to be easier to understand. And like in some ways, I don't want to, I don't want to be a liar ultimately. But what are you saying, Mama G? Hold on. I agree that as Christians, we have been taught a lot of wrong things, but that foundation of who Christ is still there. I am totally agreeing with you that Christians a lot of times are, operating from tradition, and they're not operating from the foundation that Jesus was laying on that in chapter 7 of Matthew. I just don't think, but with that mindset, I actually have been able to kind of see through things that a lot of other people would embrace. So, like I was just listening to a talk with this guy that was basically saying that the New Testament was false and it was all made up by the Romans. But when people have conjecture, or when they're trying to, project something, I actually I see people's bias written all over everything. So if you're trying to biasly project something, it's so easy. I just try to revert back to the fundamentals. So what is it about Christianity? There was some wild claims. Jesus was being touted as the Savior, which is also known as the Messiah, also known as the Christ. Now, Savior from what? From death, the second death. So, but whenever I understand that alongside, all these near-death experiences that I've seen, a lot of these near-death experiences are contradictory to what Jesus was saying. So, at what point does a near-death experience have credibility, and at what point does it lose credibility? Like one of my best friends from my young adult life, up to now, had an experience where he believes that Christianity is false and that we are all just part of this God net, this God cloud, and that hell doesn't exist, and we're just all here for a purpose, but we're discovering that as we live. And I love the concept of the Holy Spirit. It makes sense to me, because I feel like I think that that's how we've acquired the knowledge and wisdom as humans, to tap into the source, you might say. And my my understanding of like spirits and demons and stuff, it often makes me think about um, familiar spirits. There's a lot of spirits in the Bible that when they're talking about something familiar, what's more familiar than a family member? Um, so like when someone dies and they see their family member, it's like, oh, look it's my mom, or it's my uncle, or my second cousin, or I don't know. I mean, I don't really. I think that if I was to die and I saw my mom, there's nobody that's more familiar to me than my mom. But sometimes, like when I hear near-death experiences, they'll say that it's almost like a superficial version of their family member, but they don't really, um, like it's not. But then there's people that say that near-death experiences are more real than reality itself, this reality. So I don't know how to unpack or discern this concept without just having my own experience. I talked about this kind of stuff with Lady Weaver, and Lady Weaver died in January, so she's almost been gone for a full year. But I used to talk to her about this kind of stuff. What do you think that is? We got into the deep topics, and we both believed in God. We both believed in Christianity. We both believed in this whole spiritual battle or whatever. But now she gets to know what's on the other side, or what she truly is going to experience. And I still kind of have that lingering feeling in my mind that maybe each experience is a legitimate experience, but it's all created in our own mind when we're dying. Even though thoughts are in the mind, everything we project from the mind is actually a projection. It's like a satellite. There's something that projects, and So I think that maybe or maybe our brain is a receiver in that sense, that the mind continues to go after the brain dies. But I think that, we are still the same person in the body as we would be outside of the body. So if we if we had an actual death experience, and we're bringing our own thoughts with us as we're dying, who's to say we're not discerning reality after death the same way we would in life? So if you're having an experience like coming across, family members, I got to tell you something real quick. This is kind of creepy, but I always look at the story from Brian Melvin and think about these reptilian creatures that he came across that were considered familiar spirits to him, and that they shape-shifted and were basically they were presenting a certain way, but he was also kind of a pretty terrible person. So he was, in some ways, I kind of wonder if he was needing to see the things that he saw so that he could, have a repentant type of situation when he came back to the earth. It's just weird to me. Usually when people come back, they are fighting with somebody about coming back. Like, oh, you're going to come back now. No, I don't want to come back. And then they come back. Like they're thrust into their body. And, sometimes I'll look at like a dream or something, and you'll have weird dreams that seem real, but then when you unpack it later, you're like, that dream was freaking weird. And it didn't make sense with reality. Yet in my dream, it made sense somehow. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of this kind of stuff would, like if I had a DMT experience or something, I would be able to understand these weird mysteries in the moment. And I guess in some ways you'll lose a piece of your mind. When you come back, you're not the same person as you were when you left. And but I just think about that kind of stuff where you're no longer the same person once you are able to get a glimpse of this reality that didn't make sense at all. It's almost like you had to have a dream that didn't make any sense, and that somehow the dream that didn't make sense somehow brought you closer to things that do make sense. But it's all subjective because we are human. I don't know. My brain is all over the place. But what'd you say, Mama G? You're saying a lot of stuff, and I appreciate it. Let's see. When I was in the spirit, I was more real than this reality, and I was fully awake. It was not near death. Oh, I really want to know more about what you're saying, because so you had a near death experience. So your body, you left your body, or I feel like maybe this might be the reason you stumbled onto my channel, is because of the near death experience stuff. I love this topic, by the way. I love talking about near death experiences. There is something truly amazing about near death experiences. But at the same time, I'm like the guy that didn't actually have an experience of his own. I don't know how to make sense of them because I don't really feel like a lot of times they're consistent with reality, the reality I understand. Um, but if you're, trying to project or you're trying to find a way to validate, uh, oftentimes people come back and they'll say, I'm more convinced of that reality being real than this reality. And who am I to say that, whatever they have experienced, who am I to say that they are um, wrong or right or anything? I kind of wonder if all of that was just intended for them to have an experience. Um, but then I also wonder if they're supposed to have an experience so that everybody else can know what they experienced. But why is there so many things out there? It brings me back to the familiar spirits. Oh, I was going to say something about the familiar spirits. Um, from time to time, I'll be just in deep thought, or I'll even be in a dream state, maybe, and I hear something. It's like almost in the back of my mind, and it actually feels familiar to me, or it sounds familiar, like I've heard the noise before, and it flips me out a little bit because it almost sounds like a frog or a reptile making a croak noise. It's like "Rah." It's like a croaking noise in the back of my mind. And then I think about the Matrix and how your body and your mind, like if my mind's in the Matrix or something, and then there's these. I've been talking to a guy, by the way, who has had maybe hundreds of abduction experiences. I don't know. I can't really tell you the number, but he is somebody that says he's had them repeatedly his whole life. And he has encountered different kind of entities, whether they're grays or shadow people or demonic in nature. But he doesn't always. The way he makes it sound is that they're actually. He doesn't feel scared as much as he does comfortable. So if he's having an abduction experience, he says he could have his eyes closed, but then perceive things around him. And I don't know if it's a dream state for him and I'm trying to unpack a lot of this stuff with him because I actually feel like he is, uh, he is like sincere about it. Like he's really talking like from his heart, saying like he's not going to share this kind of stuff on an open platform like this. But I asked him if he wanted to come on my show, and he said that he doesn't really want to do something like that because he doesn't want his family. Um, he was kind of a reputable person in his life. I guess he was worked. He might have been a professor or something. I forget exactly what he said, but most of this kind of stuff happens when he's sleeping, and it kind of makes me wonder if he's just having an altered dream state that seems real, but again, I don't really know. So back to the whole Matrix concept about how, what if I was being abducted, or maybe I was never really abducted. Maybe nobody has ever been abducted, but we are in some sort of matrix cell where these creatures are actually around us and influencing us, kind of like a demon, and projecting thoughts into our minds. Maybe they're just sending little signals into our minds. yet we're living our lives and experiencing whatever. And I hear this little croak noise, this like, and it sounds familiar in my mind. And I'm like I've heard the noise, like I hear it all the time or something. And it kind of makes me wonder why I feel that way. Am I losing my mind, or is this something that I'm somehow in tune with other things? I don't know. But I thought it was weird. So, but I appreciate anybody that listens to me on this platform. I really, I don't want to, venture down these roads where I'm probably just confusing myself and making other people think I'm stupid or crazy or whatever. But in a lot of ways, this is my journey of trying to unpack things. And oftentimes I just want people to go down the road with me, go on the journey. And if you're thinking you have some thoughts that you can help steer me back in the right direction, I say steer me back because I've ventured off on a wild tangent in my life. And, I'm hard to convince nowadays when it comes to certain things because I feel like I've heard every perspective out there. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like it's important to cling to something because unless you have a filter of interpretation, you'll never understand anything. So, Mama G, I want to know kind of what you experience. I really do. I want to know more about it. But I have a sunlight projecting through the window right here, and it's interesting with a green screen in the background. But anyways, I've been here for an hour and 19 minutes, and YouTube has not really brought many people on for me today. But as I do this kind of stuff, I hope that more people will be involved. And but I do appreciate everybody that hears my content and hears my rants, and I am open-minded to a lot of things. Maybe too open-minded. Who knows? Hold on a second. Yeah, that would be a long story, huh? Hey, Carl, what the heck, man? I haven't talked to you in a while. I hope you're doing all right. The veil is there for a reason. When we call to the other side of the veil, we don't have any control over what comes from the other side. Wow, that's a good point. That actually is one of the best put descriptions of. I couldn't have said it better myself, that's for sure. My veil is worn thin in some ways. And I'm starting to perceive things that I probably don't want to perceive. But, it's easy to dismiss other people and say that they're psycho or crazy in their thinking. Yet, it's also easy to embrace things that may or may not be true. I just think that, Carl, you're right in a lot of ways. I feel like my veil has been worn thin lately. And I've kind of backed off from it because I don't want to keep, I don't want to just tear a riff in the veil, because I don't want to go crazy, I guess. Because I don't think anything good comes from that when you just have so much information that you can't process. So I've focused on my family because that's what makes the most sense to me lately. Love. The love that pours through me into my brand new son, my 4-year-old son and my 2-year-old son. It's just like amazing. There's nothing that feels better to me than embracing these new relationships that I have. So that's where that's where I've been lately, is just trying to love my family and focus on my business, of course, which sometimes I feel like I'm a little too focused. But everything's a means to an end when it comes to financial stuff to me. Anyways, Carl, I'm happy to see you, man. I often wonder how you're doing. So, but anyways, I had my Amazon package delivered. Sweet. All right. Well, I got to wrap it up now. I think an hour and a half is kind of pushing it. So, hopefully, everybody's doing good, and I appreciate you seeing my brain explode here. And next go around, I have like 3 or 4 interviews that I want to have and that I should be having soon, but my son is coming out of his bed right now, so I should probably go intercept him. Anyways, I'll talk to everybody later. Have a good one. All right, love y'all. Bye.